begin. The evidence gathered for this theory, this conspiracy, has the ability, if true, to change our complete understanding of this universe and the way the higher beings in control play this game. You don't know me yet. I don't know yet if you will ever know me. But if you're watching this tape, then that means you understand not everything is what it seems. Stay connected with this video and let me explain to you how Lester Crest is possibly not only self-aware that we're inside of a simulation, but has found a way to hack into the game's code to change the final outcome of Michael, Trevor and Franklin's story. All in all, as well as how Lester may be responsible for the Mount Chiliad mural, all will be explained. I'll begin where the most interesting proof lies, the house of Lester Crest himself. I scanned the building using a drone and was able to hack into security cameras to gain visual access into the inside of the home of Lester Crest. I'll be honest, this theory is all over the place. None of it ties together perfectly to create an easily follow explanation. I'm still confused, but after you look at all the proof, something about it all makes sense. To counter too much confusion, I'll be going through all that I found in Lester's house in no particular order, explaining reasoning behind what makes each item responsible for showing that Lester is self-aware, to then put it all together after. Let's begin. Here we have him, Lester Crest, of course, on the computer. Some things never change. Firstly, pay attention to the boxes around his house. The main attraction being Desert UFO. This will be important later when linked to what else we have found, but we'll come back to it. More boxes, FIB, hoaxes, assassinations, zombie outbreaks. Take the assassinations out of the picture. We can assume these are his files for the assassinations he had Franklin take care of. Looking at the other boxes, it's clear Lester has great knowledge on what's going on, with access to the FIB servers, as we can see from the screenshot that Lester posted in 2015. That alone would provide a massive amount of classified information about this world that Lester may not have been ready to comprehend. The box for hoaxes, hope you noticed, is separate from the Desert UFO and the Bigfoot box, meaning Lester knows these are not a hoax, but why this is important will make sense. Last but not least, zombie outbreaks. Did you know, according to a pair of veteran data miners within the community for this game, stated that there was a plan that would include a zombie apocalypse to then just be cancelled. Lester not only was ahead in terms of knowing zombie outbreaks are happening, but also showed us from day one that this was going to, or should I say, supposed to happen. This wall of mess, what I'm showing you so far is just to highlight Lester is what they would call a conspiracy theorist, woke. I call it being a free thinker, realizing there's bigger questions than what your days off work on. With all sorts of blueprints, map plan of the city, and a Bigfoot sticker, it looks like Lester may even be looking into the possibility of time travel and relations to alien abductions and a known hacker group that got arrested. This is where our first evidence lies. A sticky note for what looks like Lester realized a time discrepancy somewhere and stated that it can't be real. This could be the first step in Lester's realization of being in a simulation. We can see the way time is measured in this universe means what you know as minutes go by in seconds. What seems like yearly jumps into the future when online DLCs come out. Lester seems to have noticed a mistake in the timeline, and therefore knowing this, being the hacker he is, began to study how to crack the universal code to alter certain aspects to his advantage. It's no secret he knows how to code. In fact, there's books around his house that show he has been studying precise coding, such as dynamic programming, computer networks, and the most notable one, hacking the system. Let me give you an example of how Lester could be responsible for the Mount Chiliad mural and have coded himself option C at the end of the story to save Franklin having to kill Michael or Trevor, but instead allowing all three to survive. You know this famous mural by now, right? There's more videos in this mural than I can count. That's not what I'm here to show you. People like you watching these tapes are among the few deep in the rabbit hole of theories. Let me paint a picture during this explanation. This mural ties into this theory, going off of the belief that it shows the three storyline endings of our story, as well as overall being a way of showing conditions needed to see the Mount Chiliad UFO. I'll go over it step by step. Firstly, looking at the top of the diagram, we can see a platform of some sort. Near the mural, at the highest point of the mountain, there's a platform that could correspond to this platform. We also see the same red eye type marked under it, along with the words, "Come back when your story is complete," marked onto the back of this platform. Meaning whoever put this here is fully aware what the player needs to do in order to see the UFO. Or put this here as a way of telling us they're self-aware. Cracking into this universe's texture files also shows this same sentence can be found under the mural's texture pack, telling us they are both related. Of course, the outer line of the mural can signify the mountain Chiliad, which also has a deeper meaning as a mountain can symbolize overcoming obstacles, making progress, and can indicate spiritual rising, all which relates to the progression of story mode. And the idea that spirituality in this world is becoming self-aware. Lightning bolts are seen around the upper area of the mural. Of course, this can be to show that in order to see the UFO, the weather conditions conditions need to be heavy rain or thunderstorm. Or if you want to dive deeper into terms of dreams, lightning can be a symbol of terrible events and negativity, which is what the final choice Franklin is dealt with includes, a terrible crossroad event that brings on a swarm of negativity. Lines at the bottom of the mural are similar looking to light rays on an ancient symbol, used to signify a state of extreme happiness or prosperity. Now, assuming the bottom of the mural shows the beginning of the story with the three protagonists, Michael, Franklin and Trevor, and the start of great prosperity for each of them, we can now interpret that the mountain symbol indicates a progression from the bottom to the top in the mural. The main game's storyline follows a linear progression, just like a movie. The UFO icon can represent Michael because he is the only protagonist who's been in contact with what look like aliens, as well as always considering himself as an outsider to the modern world. Hatching egg in Christian times was a symbol of new life, just as a chick can hatch from the egg. Franklin is the youngest of the trio, and by meeting Michael, he is set on a completely new life journey full of opportunities. Jetpack icon that has caused years of heavy conspiracies. This be a symbol for the fact Trevor discovered that he had a talent for flying. He enlisted in the Air Force to pilot fire jets, but several days prior to completing his training and becoming a pilot, Trevor was deemed mentally unstable by the witch in charge of psychological evaluations. This then resulting in Trevor's discharge and grounding for life. It's interesting to note that the glory light rays on the bottom of the mural are not present in the middle, and the rays from the left side are different than those from the right side. This could indicate a difference or an opposition between both sides. As we know, the relationship between Michael and Trevor was not the best and caused some tension. Let's look at the beginning of the main game storyline set in Lunderoff, North Yankton 9 years ago. Trevor and Michael knew each other long before the story started 9 years later, meaning the reason that their lines connect on this mural is to signify the relationship long before the story started, the foundation of the story, and then Franklin not being connected as he's just newly introduced into their lives 9 years later. Next we have a crossroad, the only crossroad visible in all the lines of the diagram. In the whole main storyline, there's only one single time where you have more than two choices at one given situation. It's at the climax of the story when Franklin could choose between endings A, B, C, which could, metaphorically speaking, correspond to a crossroad in his life. Franklin's choices would also correspond perfectly with the diagram on the mural, where three separate lines end in two red axes located on the same level inside the mountain symbol, while a third choice, located straight in the middle, surpass the apex of the mountain to end inside the Eye of Providence symbol. The diagram depicts a choice between two red X's on the exact same height level in the mountain and the same distance from the middle line. To me, this represents the choice of killing every protagonist, or choosing N and C and letting them both live, since there are crossroads at the end of the storyline as well as on the mural, and that with this crossroad, both the beginning and the end of the mural matches with the beginning and the end of the storyline, I can conclude that this is not a coincidence at all. Looking back at the Eye of Providence, note that it has 7 short lines around it. In both Jewish and Christian traditions, 7 signifies the totality of perfection or completeness, giving us a more confident confirmation that this is symbolizing the 100% completion of the story. Let's now look at what each box containing an X can mean. The main storyline script got 5 turning points in total. 3 turning points happened during the main storyline before the final mission. First being Michael pulling down Martin Madrazo's house while in rage. Also the same time he met Franklin, which explains now on the mural why they get connected. Pulling down Madrazo's house caused Franklin and Michael to have no choice but to conduct a jewel heist in order to repay Martin Madrazo for the damage. This then attracted the attention of Trevor through the news by realizing the thief said the same quote Michael used to say in their old heists, therefore sparking the reunion of Michael and Trevor, with the truth coming out surely on why Michael faked his death, creating many different events in the story. Second box, relating to the first one from Trevor's perspective, is him being hinted about Michael being alive, which causes Trevor to travel to Los Santos in the hunt for Michael, connecting all 3 protagonists on the same linear timeline. The third box being the second biggest turnover points in Trevor's life during the 2013 story, as this is where he discovers Brad isn't actually alive in prison, but instead is dead, causing Trevor to go back to North Yankton to find the truth about Brad by digging up Michael's grave just to find Brad's body. This was very hard on Trevor, as he thought he had been talking to Brad through letters for 9 years, sharing his deepest feelings, but turns out it was an FIB agent helping Michael fake his death. Of course, this made Trevor gain deep hatred towards Michael for being a part of this. Coming to the crossroad, there is a box on each side, one for Michael to mark his death if Franklin chose to kill him, and one for Trevor's death if he was chosen. Then the ending Franklin can choose by the help of Lester, allowing all protagonists to live. Okay, now that you have a better view of how does Lester being self-aware come into all of this? You remember that mysterious cube people discovered behind the mural walls? Lester has a cube on his calendar He uses it like a sort of signature of his great work. Nothing too crazy, I know, but that same calendar, Lester has also circled the date, September 7th. The year this game was released, or should I say, the date this story began. Looking back at the CCTV footage of the book, Lester has multiple copies of Hacking the System. The title alone is a full-on way of telling us he is quite literally hacking the system, which we can refer to as the game code this universe runs on, as well as the front image looking very similar to the line connections we see on the mural. Almost as if he hacked the universe's set code to, instead of only providing 2 endings, instead add an option C where all the protagonists can live, and also result in the death of Devin Weston, who was a part of Dawn Percival's group, a man Lester is at war with. I will explain that more after. Just also remember, it was Lester who introduced Matt Franklin to this plan. Did you manage to notice too, on Lester's bedside cupboard, he has a sticker saying, "Hello, my name is Reaper." We can relate this to the skull picture icon for Choice C that came up on Franklin's phone during his decision. It's as if Lester considers himself the Reaper for hacking his way above to the ability to choose who dies and who doesn't. But then, why couldn't Lester just kill whoever he wants at any time by hacking? Possibly he's not anywhere near knowing how to completely code events like that, or knows the danger of messing with the very set code that is responsible for the whole simulated universe we're living in. Causing problems to that code can cause the end of what we know as reality. Going off of the factor, Lester Crest now has main access to the simulation code, knowing he knows how to influence it to change and create his own set of events. This can lead us into seeing that Lester may have been the one that added the secret encounter Franklin can do, involving eating different peyote plants at different locations, to then end up as Bigfoot fighting against the beast. Firstly, the everything used for this encounter consists of assets that were already in the game, such as the peyotes, bodies of the animals. The beast attacker was taken from an online minigame. This means all Lester had to do was copy and paste some code into different locations to combine his own event together. The big box in his house labelled Bigfoot shows he was definitely looking into something to do with Bigfoot. And once again, going back to his books, we can see one titled Dynamic Programming. For those of you that aren't aware of what this is, to put it simply, it's a technique for solving a complex problem by first breaking it into a collection of simpler sub-problems, solving each sub-problem just once, and then storing their solutions to avoid repetitive computations. Still not sure? Okay. The image on the front of the book is what's important. Notice just how much it relates to one of the various order of paths to activate this final event of Bigfoot versus the Beast. Did Lester adapt the code to make this conspiracy come to life, or did he use his knowledge on dynamic programming to discover the existence of Bigfoot himself by doing all this necessary steps for him to be revealed, explaining why the Bigfoot box is separate from the hoaxes? You follow me so far? Okay. Have you ever flown a blimp to the highest it can go? Many of you may not be aware of doing this. At a precise location over the ocean reveals a floating boxed layer of text stating this does not exist. Who else knows this universe is just a simulated reality that, according to most people's terms of reality, does not exist? Is there other people in this world aware of the truth of our reality? Or was this also done by none other than our prime suspect, Lester Crest? The man that has cracked the code, the man with the mind to create alternate storylines, events, and move around coded objects to his own free will. Is he trying to signal to anyone that stumbles upon that sign that this world does not exist, or is this a message to the ones in control that Lester is self-aware? If this is true, then looking back on Lester's great interest in the desert UFO that, remember, he knows is not a hoax, may have gave him the module idea to create a hologram replica of the UFO at the top of Mount Chiliad, to once again show the player that someone is aware of being inside this simulation. Now do you see by how messy, but yet somehow actually makes sense this theory is? Devin Weston earlier, and how Lester Crest caused his death during Choice C. Lester reminds me of the less appealing version of Neo from The Matrix. Realized he's in a simulation and is now spending his time fighting the evil forces in charge of the world. Lester using his elite skills with computer hacking and out-of-the-box thinking, his war against the shadow government. We've seen Lester's desktop wallpaper during the Doomsday Heist, but did you look at it as the fantasy life Lester wants, or did you look at it for the deeper meaning it may hold? Lester isn't fighting random monsters here. He's fighting free, one-eyed agents in suits. One-eyed monsters are called Cyclops. According to the legend, the Cyclops had only one eye because they traded one eye in order to see the future. The only future they were able to learn after that was the day of their death. We can also confirm that those Cyclops are agents with their badge and headsets. One thing very important to note is that the agents are surprised and fleeing in panic, just like if they never expected this event to happen. Referring to my example of the Matrix again, you can look at these Cyclops as the Mr. Smiths of the world. The wolf head that we can now observe on the beast is very significant. The mythical creature that Lester is writing is called a chimera or chimera. There are various results of animal breeding that can result in a chimera. There's another meaning to this world. Chimera, a thing that is hoped or wished for, but in fact is illusionary or impossible to achieve. Lester is also wearing what seems to be a parody of a Star Trek uniform. We can understand this by this golden badge seen on Lester's chest, which is mirrored from the normal position of that badge in Star Trek. The blue colour of the shirt is reminiscent again of the blue shirts in Star Trek. Lester definitely knows about Star Trek, since we can find the live long and prosper sticker inside his home. Some call this breaking the fourth wall, but I doubt it. Lester isn't just wielding any weapon, he's holding Mjolnir itself. To be worthy of even lifting this weapon, you need to be a good hero fighting against evil. This proves that Lester is a good guy fighting evil forces. The Hammer of Thor, the god of thunder. Remember, the Merle was surrounded by thunder. Lester wears a golden armor showing the head of an eagle, is reminiscent of Asgard's eagle warriors. It could also be a hint for the IAA who he worked for. They have an eagle head logo, possibly a metaphor to say that he keeps all the skills he learned through the IAA on his shoulder when fighting these evil forces. A quick summary on the Aztec warriors and why it's important. The eagle and the jaguar warriors are said to have formed the largest elite warrior society in the Aztec army. In Aztec mythology, the eagle was regarded as a symbol of the sun, hence the eagle warriors were the warriors of the sun. Members of this warrior society dressed like eagles, adorning themselves with eagle feathers and wearing headgear with an eagle head on it. I find this the most interesting, the most elite warrior society, the eagle being regarded as a symbol of the sun and them being warriors of the sun. Throughout this world, we see many references to people worshipping the sun, cults revolving completely around it, and other more local camps symbolizing this too. Is it too far-fetched to question if Lester is included in his own secret society throughout San Andreas that involve people fighting against the normality of society, the government, all while doing what they can to discover more about the truth of this world? I know some people out there seem to the normal NPC that they have lost their mind, but what if the realization of being in a simulated game broke their minds and to see no point in normal living but to dedicate fully to the worship of the sun? Could they believe the players in control are the sun? There's a lot of unanswered questions. But let's get back on track. We can also observe the all-seeing eye in the shape of a pyramid, aka the shadow government, Illuminati, the eye in the sky. Who really knows for sure? On the picture, we see it attacking Lester with a yellow type lightning, but is getting protected by a popular stereotyped hero who blocks the attack off using a lightning blue shield, permitting Lester to continue attacking. A final add-on is going back to the possibility the warriors of the sun have carried on the fight on modern day evil in the quest of spiritual rising or becoming self-aware behind the truth of this reality. These people really could have in mind that the sun reflects the player in control, that they look at these players as the god of the universe and therefore worship and grow closer to it. The big Merle in the city doing a yoga gesture called the Udabruti Mudra, which is believed to be great for realizing the inner self and can be used to connect with the cosmic consciousness or the divine energy of the universe. There we can see some people wearing when doing yoga with the quote, "Meditation is a dissolution of thoughts in eternal awareness or pure consciousness without objectification, knowing without thinking, merging finitude in infinity." As you can realize, this quote both deals with consciousness and infinity, which fits with the theme of self-aware programs inside a simulation. In conclusion, it's easy to see Lester knows more than anyone may think. Is he self-aware of the simulated reality? I don't know. That's for you to decide upon yourself. I'm here to decide the facts and theories. You don't hear from me again, then you know I said more than what's supposed to be publicly known, but I made sure to cover my tracks. My archives are full of heavy conspiracies, unsolved myths, and other subjects to dive deep into, all that I will release in the forthcoming future. If you want to be along for this journey, subscribe to the channel and comment your thoughts on this theory. Until next time, Spartans.